Welcome to another episode of Simply Sacred with Auroara Leigh. I'm here with Giles Ringer. He is with the Canadian Mental Health Association's CRCL. This is a absolutely brand new initiative, peer response driven mental health crisis solution. And I'm just so looking forward to this conversation. Welcome, Giles, to the episode today. I think it's really crucial that we're going to have this conversation.
Yeah, thanks. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah. So you said that you've kind of started to launch CRCL. We're going to kind of get into what that is, but it really officially starts February 2nd.
Correct. Yeah, we're going to be fully operational February 2nd, 7 days a week.
Okay.
Yeah, from 11 a.m. until 9 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're the CRCL manager
Correct.
at the Canadian Mental Health Association here at Kelowna. And what exactly does the CRCL manager mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's new for myself, a new position, but really what I'm doing is I'm trying to make sure that the team, so we have a team made up of a team lead and then 3 responders, which include a dispatcher, an experiential crisis responder, and a community crisis responder. And I basically want to make sure that the team has what they need to be able to respond to any crisis in community when they're called. That is the most generic way of saying it. Yeah. Yeah.
Big goal, big initiative.
I mean, for me, yes. I mean, there has been lots of work previously that's been going on, including work with CMHA Kelowna, but then also the city has been a really strong partner in getting CRCL running, and even getting us connected where we need to be connected to get CRCL to our community.
So can anyone just go and say, I want to be a partisan of society that supports in mental health crisis, and I'm that person, as long as there's another clinical person kind of coming as well? How do people get involved with actually being the helpers? Because it sounds like if everyone knew about CRCL and every mental health crisis response could be possible, there would be a lot of people available then.
If you're talking about being an employee, and anyone with any experience of mental health could always apply for a job with CMHA Kelowna for a CRCL position. We don't have tons of those positions right now because we are at the beginning, but for the sake of the community, anybody who is experiencing anything that we all get, right? We live in a society and a community currently where there is a high cost of living, there is not a lot of housing, there is difficulties of people, family members who, let's say, don't live close to us in our communities, and so you may experience any sort of stress or anything like that from missing family. But whether it be grief or loss, whether that be thoughts of suicide or any other mental health struggle an individual experiences, or substance use related crisis, they're able to call CRCL for support.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all CRCL roles, including those that are kind of that people to people support, they fall under the job of CMHA. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So our team is made up of those 3 different positions.
Yeah.
And everyone is hired underneath CMHA Kelowna.
Right.
CMHA BC, which makes it a little more confusing. If you were to look at most of the other, there's a total, if I backtrack, there is now 7 CRCL teams in the province. Wow. They used to be called PAC teams, so peer assisted crisis team. What has taken place is that through provincial funding, CMHA BC has put out these contracts, and other communities and other community agencies have taken on the role of putting the information out or creating the CRCL team. We just happen to be another CMHA which is similar to CMHA BC. almost like a franchising type of agreement,
Right, I
you could say,
understand.
sort of,
Yeah.
right? But it could be, Kelowna Friendship Society who could be running Circle. We just happen to be CMHA as well. But basically, what we've done with the support of the city and the funding, we've hired employees who are underneath CMHA Kelowna, hired on as a crisis responder or as an experiential crisis responder, and so that's how they've gotten onto the team, and they all have experience with mental health.
Right, so those that are serving. And I think that's where my misconception was, because peer assisted, where it was prior branded as PACT, is peer assisted. So that kind of, did the PACT have it be more peer based then, just based on the name?
Well, I mean, it depends on your take on peer, right? I mean, right now, you and I could be considered peers, right? Because my understanding, I think I have a little familiarity of your background. We might work in a similar field, right? And so then we could be considered peers. This similarly is community members, by community members, for community members. So we're all peers, right? We want to make sure that the community within Kelowna receives support by their community members to be able to make it a really easy and low barrier access to crisis support, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I think about those that might want to serve, and I think of those who are already serving so much in their work, whether they're mental health clinicians, maybe they want to be on the response call, like and during the weekend, to be part of this, they would have to be employable still and have CMHA be their kind of second job, so to speak. They wouldn't necessarily be showing up in the same way as, like when we had talked, I think that suicide assist is very peer-to-peer based.
Right.
And so the correlation that I had for that was that you are part of an intervention team, but not necessarily employed by someone.
Right.
And I think that's where I got confused.
Yes. So it is very much, let's say an employee of Interior Health, right? If an employee of Interior Health wanted to be part of Circle, they would actually have to apply for a position, a full-time or a casual position with CMHA Kelowna.
Right.
If there is a posting up. So it's not as if somebody would call our dispatcher and then anybody could go and show up. We have very clear policies. We also, every responder goes through 100 hours of training. So it's very much, even individuals who come to the role are experiential crisis responders. They go through pretty rigorous training. So they do assist, so which is a really nationally well-known suicide prevention program. So we all do the 2-day training. And then they have a number of other hours of training, situational assessment, triaging, and then also scene assessment to make sure that the space is safe. So it's not for community members to just show up if we receive a call, but for individuals who may be interested in this type of role, can always reach out to CMHA Kelowna and see if there's positions available.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah.
I just have the sense that a lot of people will be wondering how they can support and how that kind of works and melds together with your goals and visions.
Yeah.
So I know that there's been a lot of work prior to getting this kind of off the ground, and my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that this was very much RCMP led before, and so this is replacing what used to be police being able to respond to mental health crisis, and now it's shifting.
That's a great point. So I think one of the things we want to be clear about is that we're not going to take anything away from RCMP. RCMP have a really strong and clear role within our community, right? When there is an elevated threat of violence, right, or anything that is what we call a high acuity, where individuals are experiencing a level of crisis where there may be harm to themselves or somebody else, that is imminent. It's taking place or about to take place. Then RCMP are an appropriate place to be attending. We also have another team in Kelowna where an RCMP officer with a mental health professional or a psych nurse, they can attend to be able to do clinical assessments for individuals. Our role is to be a supporter of that, let's say. The way that the circle sort of expresses it, you have three square boxes of, for lack of a better term, 3 square boxes of supports and services, right? You have police, you've got fire, and you've got paramedic, right? Those are clear and delineated services that are provided and needed within our community, within our province. What we don't have is a mental health voluntary crisis response service that is not police-based. So what we can do instead of taking roles away from RCMP or paramedics or fire, we're actually allowing them to focus on where they need. So let's say for yourself, right? It's a perfect example. If you all of a sudden are home one evening, right? And let's say a vehicle out front runs into your car. You park your car out front and gets into it and there's an accident. And you're inside and you go, oh my gosh, that really stresses me out, right? And this may not be the best example, but nevertheless, some people can get really, really concerned or really stressed about that. That becomes a crisis for them. If they're having a difficult time dealing with the emotional toll of that crisis, they can call us, right? For the sake of their mental health, right? They may need to be able to contact police because the incident that took place, now you need the police involvement to be able to find out who's at fault or whatever. But what we provide is direct support to the individual who's experiencing that stress, the anxiety, the grief, the fear, those mental health struggles. And then we attend with 2 people and we come and ask, how are you doing? Like, are you in need of support from us? And at any point of that journey, the individual that called us can say, I'm good, I don't want help anymore, or we can continue to provide support to wherever they need.
So how will people get front-loaded with information when, say, there's been a crime like that happen or an accident like that happen, they're distressed? Will they get front-loaded with the information that you're available to them?
So we will be putting out lots of advertisements to make sure that Kelowna knows that we're available. Our mayor just recently made an announcement, including Circle, regarding all the things that are going on in our city, and he also expressed that as well. So the word is coming out there to the community members. It's going to take time, right? It's going to take time. But one of the things I think is that if you're experiencing crisis, call us first, right? Our dispatcher will very quickly be able to say, hi, we're Circle. What can we help you with? And the individual will say, oh my goodness, my house is on fire. We'll say, you need to call 911 if it is something along those lines. Otherwise, or we may actually be able to call 911 for them and connect. Those are still working in, but ideally 911 would be called for that. If the individual calls and says, I'm really struggling today. It's been a hard day. I'm struggling with my finances or whatever it is, then they can call us and our dispatcher will then get the information they need and will immediately dispatch our 2-person team to their house or to their community. Yeah.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
So your dispatch number, since we're talking about it, is it this 778-940-2560 number?
Correct. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And you can also text that. So we do have the system set up where individuals, wherever they are, because not everybody calls from home, but most people have a cell phone on them or are able to access Wi-Fi and use text, are able to quickly and freely just send a text message saying, I'm in crisis, I would like support. And then our dispatcher again will get the information that's needed and send our team to come and see how they're doing.
That's great. And hopefully the dispatch, like 911, will also be aware of and be able to provide that information as well if it's needed.
Well, I think that's some of the stuff that we're working out, because we do know, right, 911 has a central system. We are not part of that central system, right? Because there's going to be a whole bunch of barriers, right? There's confidentiality involved in it. There's systems involved in it. But what we want to do is we really want to build confidence in one, our services, so police, fire, and ambulance. We also want to build the confidence with the community that they can call us, and they know that if I'm not in imminent danger, then give CRCL a call, and we're going to come out and we're going to meet you.
So how are you going to work with crime victims support?
With crime victims support?
Yeah, because when there's a crime and somebody's a victim of a crime, they likely will very much benefit from CRCL, but also crime victims is always quite present too for people. So has there been talk about how that kind of parallels or how it'll work?
So in those regards, again, the same thing. I think the best way to sort of delineate us is that we always receive a call because we are voluntary. Anyone at any time can give us a call. So if an individual is a victim of crime, right, they may have been connected with the victim services, right? If they haven't been connected with the victim services, we can actually do that service navigation. So not only are we coming in person and able to support them with their certain needs, whatever it happens to be, to help them de-escalate their crisis, to feel more comfortable and safe and confident where they are, we can also do the service navigation and saying, do you know about victim services? This is the information and this is the number. And victim services, because you are a victim of crime, you actually have supports and services that you can receive from victim services going forward. In the meantime, we can still be here and we can support you right now in the immediate. And we can also provide a follow-up if that's also required later on.
Right, because then you would have the capacity to then branch off where it's most suitable.
Definitely.
For those individuals.
Yep. And again, it goes back to always making sure that, you know, we are triaging what's going on and what's most important. So if somebody's dealing with a very severe mental health crisis, they're going to be priority for us as well, right? Even the other day, we had an individual who was really struggling, and this was related to a wellness check that we received a call for. And we were able to we were able to provide enough support for the individual that they no longer felt like they needed to go to the hospital. We were able to create a safety plan with them. We were able to provide follow-up with them. And the individual was able to stay present, be stable in their home, and we provided them the information because we're going to make sure that they know who to call if they feel like they can't handle life anymore, right? Because we want to make sure people are safe. But the team was able to de-escalate them to a point where they were able to stay safe. And we have a plan going forward to follow up with them to make sure that they're okay in the future.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. And I mean, I guess I front loaded so much about building your team because I just see the dire need for it, you know, and we see that across our country and beyond, right? And in terms of mental health supports needs. So we really, like CRCL is really going to be also very exemplary, maybe for other spaces to hopefully also catch on and do something similar.
Yeah. I think it's, as I said, I come from Treaty 1 territory in Manitoba and Winnipeg specifically. And I used to work on crisis teams there. So with the health authority and then also within nonprofit. And that was a great experience for me, and that was 20 years ago. The difference is with this team is it's not connected with the health authority, right? We are in the community, and so there are other crisis-based teams, and Kelowna has, you know, 2 other crisis-based teams, right? One with the health authority, one with the RCMP. This is now a community-based one where we're providing that community support in a way where it's more for everyone. I think it's really easy for us to go, mental health, oh my goodness, I don't have mental health struggles. The thing is that when we say those things, we're really we're making them bigger and more unattainable instead of going, what really is a mental health struggle? I personally have struggled with mental health for a very long time, since I was young. I also have a chronic disease which has impacted my mental health. And so I've used crisis lines, right? I've used regularly in my previous work as well, just even for debriefing and de-escalating myself, so I can go home to my family with a comfortable, clear head. And that's what we want to get to, is we want to make sure that people know that we're here for them. And it's all of us in some way, shape, or form experience crisis in our life. And you don't have to do it alone.
Absolutely. I remember hitting a deer. It just kind of came up out of the side of the road, and the shock that was part of my system for days after, right? Like I took time to even to drive again, not like from that moment from the highway. But a woman had stopped and saw it happen, and she knew exactly what to say to me, and it was amazing. And she was such a gift.
Yeah.
And I think it's just people being people, there for each other, right? And that's kind of what it's all about, human-centered values.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's doing human work with humans. It's treating people as humans. And I think when we talk about the experiential worker that we have, it very much comes back to, this person on the side of the road who just came and knew what to say. They may not have had any training, but they knew from their own experience, how are you doing? Are you okay? That was probably a pretty stressful event. And you were able to go, oh, it was actually very stressful. Thank you very much. It's acknowledging the reality of life and validation and providing that empathy.
I'm seen, I see you, and then that feedback loop completes, right?
Very much so.
And so much of the time, those that are struggling with mental health feel very isolated. So feeling that feeling of community and is paramount, I think.
And you can imagine that for somebody who is struggling with mental health, to have an ambulance, to have a fire truck or a police officer show up, or even another crisis responder who is in their interior health uniform with their big lanyard on coming up, it's not going to de-escalate the individual. It's not going to provide them that same comfort. We come to people, our two responders, come to people in community clothing. They may not even have a lanyard on them at that point. They might have it in their pocket. They'll come and introduce themselves to make sure that the person knows who they are, and the fact that they're coming based on a call that you made. But even our presence is one where we're going to try and lower the stress of the event.
Safety and connection, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so why do you think it is so important? Why do you yourself think it's so important to have this peer-led response team?
So I'm a social worker and have been doing it for 10, 15 years, I believe. And I believe strongly, and my previous role was also in psychosocial support, providing those supports to frontline workers and first responders. And what I've found is that psychosocial support is something, it's not counseling. It is counseling adjacent. But again, it is that talking to people. What I've noticed is that it can actually divert a lot of the struggles that individuals have. It can divert the need to be going to more expensive services that some people can't afford. And because counselors are absolutely lovely human beings, right? But they do cost, right? And not everybody has the benefits. This service, I feel as though it's going to be so beneficial because our community doesn't have anything like this where we can come and address your struggles. The mayor was recently speaking about some of the incidents that were taking place downtown Kelowna, right? And so shopkeepers are experiencing a high level of stress, right? Yeah. We can actually be present and not address, the incidents that have taken place, right? We're not gonna be taking notes about, you know, who did it and how to get there. We're gonna be talking to the individual who's experienced the stressful event. So if you're a shopkeeper and all of a sudden you're experiencing all this stress based on losing product or having to pay more for, you know, fixing your windows, we're going to be able to actually be present there. If you're a grandmother up in Mission or in Rutland, we can drive up to you and we can be present again and just be there and make sure that you are okay. You feel safe, you feel comforted, and then we can connect you with the supports that you need as well. Our community doesn't have anything like that. Our community doesn't have any, we're not a large city, right? But we're large enough, right? We're large enough that we're separated by Glenmore, by Rutland, by Mission, by downtown, like all of those areas. And like I said, I'm only 5 years into Kelowna and absolutely love this town and the Silk community. But we want to bring all of those groupings together under Circle to make sure that the supports are provided to anybody in any walk of life for whatever's needed with our crisis responders.
So when you first moved to Kelowna, did you know that you'd be branching into this? Like, how did this come about exactly?
So when I first moved to Kelowna with my family, it was 2021 in COVID, and I happened to luck out with an absolutely beautiful position with the provincial health. And I have been in mental health and crisis intervention for multiple decades. And so I was looking for a position, but I wanted to do something a little greater. I wanted to do something that one exposed me to more of British Columbia, because British Columbia has been something in my heart since I was 16 years old, wanting to move here. And so that role I did for almost 5 years. When I was recently just sort of thinking about it, I completed my master's, and I was going, what is next? What's next for me, right? I've been doing frontline or frontline adjacent work, working with community members, working with frontline workers, first responders, evacuees during floods and fires, things like that. And I felt as though I have another opportunity to be able to provide my learnings from my years with my mental health, with my experience, with my academics and education to other people. I don't really get super stressed, right? And so after those 5 years of the work with provincial health, a friend mentioned to me, have you seen this position? And I was not totally looking. I hadn't really thought about CMHA as a role, as a position for me, because my previous role, I was actually providing supports to individuals within CMHA Kelowna. And then I looked at it and it made so much sense. A manager for a position that was community-based, it was crisis-led, as Circle, which is CRCL, Crisis Response Community-Led. That falls into all of who I am as a person, my beliefs on social justice, and everything like that, and really grounding myself in the community. And I think I was ready also to be here. I want to be here in Kelowna. I want to be present in this space. I love the community. I have 3 children that have, one of them started school over on the west side. Now they've gone through high school. They play soccer and dance and diving and so more and more connected in this community. And so the decision to go, this provides me an opportunity to be in Kelowna, to be able to pass on my information to another team, and to be able to provide the supports that are still within my mental health background. And so I immediately was like, yes, I think this is exactly what I'm looking for.
I love that.
And they grabbed me,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I really wanted to kind of connect in about maybe the viewership that might be tuning in, that maybe they do struggle with mental health, and they might be thinking, wow, I'm really glad I get to know about this, because we've talked a lot about the structural components and those who might be part of it, and know that it's available as it is part of their role in frontline work as well. But those people who might be tuning in and think, okay, Circle, all right, this sounds very like I just phone another crisis line. How is it any different? We've kind of unpacked a bit of that, but let's just really bring it down to that relatable concept of, what exactly will they experience maybe when the team shows up, the team of 3.
Yeah. So it's a team of 2.
Okay.
The dispatcher stays at the office.
Okay.
And then the crisis responder and the experiential crisis responder, community crisis responder, I should say, will show up. When they show up, let's say Rutland Library, let's say that. An individual at Rutland Library calls Circle. What they will see is 2 people who will find the person, however that is. So whether the dispatcher will be getting the information about what they look like, what they're wearing, all of that, something so that we can identify who they are, right? The team will walk up to them and will just introduce themselves. Hi, my name is Giles. We received a call, we believe it was you, about a crisis that you're experiencing. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it? Our role is to support you in what you need. Period. We're not coming with flags and banners. We're not coming with a whole bunch of prescribed ideas about what you need in the moment. What we want to do is we want to meet you where you are with what you need, and which goes back to it's completely voluntary. So if at any point you're like, I don't like you, I don't like what you're doing, and this doesn't feel comfortable, you can say no. You can say, I'm good. And we'll say, okay, here's our card. If you ever need to call us, we can just come back. That being said, if they are going, yes, please, let's say I just lost my house and I'm really stressed. Say, okay, that is an extremely difficult experience. How are you coping with that? And so once the team would de-escalate the crisis by supporting the individual just emotionally in the space, then we can start to explore what services they might need.
Community resources.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we don't have a fast track for any resources, but because we are community members, we know what the resources are. Because we're spending all the hours of education and training, we're learning about a whole bunch of them. And we have some connections with Canadian Mental Health Association Kelowna who have resources, right? So we do have a larger agency in our back pocket that we can go, you know what, actually CMHA has something that might be able to support you going forward.
Keeping it with the person experiencing the support before moving back to your framework. The idea of what might they tangibly get in the immediate and middle ground kind of timeline for that support.
So again, it goes back to what the person needs, right? It's hard to talk concrete when everyone's experience is exactly their own, right? So let's say that somebody is experiencing suicide ideation, right? And I won't speak to you. I'll speak to myself. So let's say that I have really strong feelings of wanting to die, and I apologize. I'm very straightforward about mental health, so this is it. So I really don't feel like I can continue to stay in this world, and I pick up the phone and I call Circle. I say, I'm done. I don't know what to do. We show up. We talk to them. We explore, okay, can you tell me why? Like, what's going on for you that's making you feel like life is just too much right now, right? And then after that, we find out what that information is, right? And we go, okay, that's like, thank you for being so honest with us. Do you have a plan right now? And let's say I give them my plan. Say, okay, clearly you have a very specific plan, and you know how you're going to follow through with it. Do you have means to follow through on any of that? Well, no. Okay. So what we can do is then we start safety planning with the individual right there. Again, so that their crisis becomes less intense for them. Really, we're trying to sort of, let's say you take a pop bottle and you shake it up and it has all that pressure, right? Try to gently release some of the pressure by just gently unscrewing the cap a little bit, and some of the pressure will come out. That's what we're trying to do.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, we're trying to release some of that pressure. Once some of that pressure is released, then we can identify, what the safety plan would look like. So, do you have, let's say, weapons? Great. Should we be checking in with that person who knows where the weapons are to remove the weapons? That's sort of the whole process of the safety plan. Then what we can say is, so let's say the immediate crisis is taken care of, right? You know what? I'm actually feeling okay. I feel like I can manage tonight. That's fantastic. Would it be helpful if we checked in with you tomorrow or after the weekend? I actually think that would be really lovely. Great. Do you want us to give you a call, or would you like us to drive back and see you in person again? I actually hate phone calls. I'd really rather see you in person, because I don't know who I'm talking on the phone. I just want to speak to you in person. Great, we would love to come back. So why don't we make a plan that tomorrow at 2 p.m. we'll come back and we'll just check in with you and make sure you're okay. Great. So we can do the immediate, de-escalation, planning, providing resources, and then we can do a follow-up the next day or 3 days from then.
So great.
Yeah.
And so if you were responding and then all of a sudden you notice there's a criminality aspect, that's where you would weave in the police in that moment?
I want to unpack, for lack of a better term, the criminality. So in that same scenario, right?
Okay.
Let's say a person who has plans and has means, right? And in some of the trainings you do, let's say an individual is on the bridge, right? Or some other place where they might actually hurt themselves. If an individual is at a space where they are about to hurt themselves, right, we will talk to them, but one of the other responders would immediately be on the phone with police. Because we're not going to walk away and leave the person on their own. We will make sure that police show up, because we will never put hands on anybody. That is not our role. We are not trained for that, and that is not something we're doing, right? We are coming to just be present with the individual. But if it requires a response to police, then we will just automatically call 911, and we will make sure that we will then, on scene, provide the information to the RCMP to make sure that they come and they deal with the next level.
How does CRCL help reimagine community safety and mental wellness?
Yeah. I think it comes back to what is mental wellness, right? As a community, we want people to be happy, want people to be healthy. We want a community to be able to speak to each other in a comfortable, confident manner without feeling like everybody's out to attack us. We do that by being present, by being grounded, by being calm. And so when CRCL, the way that it's reimagined is that it's not law enforcement based, right? Typically 911, you only have one response, right? Police are coming. paramedics are coming, fire is coming, or fire department's coming. And what we want to do is make sure that the community then is able to actually see that we are just humans, right? Our community response is from community members being our responders, to support the well-being of all members. So it's very much going back to if everyone in our community at some way, shape, or form experiences a mental health struggle, then we all have the skills and ability to understand what that might be like, right? If you think about, you never know somebody unless you walk a mile in their shoes, right? And there are differences in perspective around that, but we don't all walk in each other's shoes, but we all have the ability to be able to see or recognize our own experience in someone else, right? You and I would have very different experiences. We might have some experiences that would be similar, but they wouldn't be identical, right? But I can still be present and say, I can imagine that that's very difficult. The way we imagine it for our community is to go, we can all, any one of us can be out there and be providing care to people, right? We can say to people, how are you doing, right? Today I was walking downtown and I walked outside and I saw somebody out there, and instead of just ignoring them, I said, wow, I'm really liking your bike. Can you tell me a little bit about it, right? We just engaged in a conversation and we didn't know each other, no clue who each other were, different walks of life, everything like that. The only thing we had in common was that both of us had a coffee from the same store, and that was it.
That you knew of.
That's true. They had a cup from the same place I was at.
Yeah.
But mental health and well-being for a community, instead of it being concrete, instead of it being super clear, it's very much in the gray. Nobody knows what the other person's experiencing, and instead of making assumptions or judgments, we ask questions. We lean into the feeling versus telling people what they need to do. That's how we begin to reimagine.
Curiosity allows connection and openness, yeah. So I'm going to play a little devil's advocate around how so many times, there might be crisis, and I always have felt this idea of, well, we just need to come together. There's always this bureaucratic red tape, or, we've got to apply, or they've got to tick the box, and it's so frustrating because BC, it's so process-based, and people don't communicate, they're in silos sometimes because of, frontline work is just very present and real and really, really hard, incredible work. But oftentimes there's these gaps and barriers for those who are needing the services the most, right?
Yeah.
And so just curious around how to mitigate that from occurring, the too much red tape coming in again, when this is not what you want at all. You want that circle. But how do you mitigate the red tape?
That's a great question. We don't lie about what we can and can't do. I think being honest, being clear about what our roles are and what aren't our roles, what's within our scope and what's outside of our scope. What we are there for is to create connection, to provide care, to provide resources, and ideally prevent people from continuing to have a really difficult day. So the red tape that we experience, right? If an individual is struggling connecting with any of the services, right? We can even call with the individual. So maybe making the phone call to one of those services is concerning, right?
True advocacy work.
Yeah, we can sit down, we can sit there and say, you know, this service might actually be really helpful for you. And because they've told us, you know, some about their lives, and they've shared information, and we've supported them up until a point where we say, you know, we know of this service. Have you thought about it? I said, I have, but I don't want to call them. I said, okay, like, is that because you don't like calling? Or, you know, and then we would explore all sorts of other options. But then we can say, you know, like, we'd be happy to call with you on speakerphone right now, and then you're not doing it alone. We can have a conversation about what you're looking for, and even write it down, so then you already know what you need to ask, and we can be present the entire time. So really trying to reduce some of the barriers for people, because sometimes we have our own barriers, right? We have our own struggles based off of, you know, our own stresses in our lives, right? Like I said, I have 3 children, and all 3 of them are different, and some things make them stressed out, whereas other things don't make the other one stressed out. But what we can do is we can be present with them and say, look, we can help you reduce those barriers by doing it with you. We can help reduce those barriers by giving you a ride to the place that you need to go to. That will help reduce your stress as well.
Yeah, to be able to speak to and put to language what's truly needed. And when people are in crisis, it can be really hard to articulate or even know what you might be needing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so to have that advocacy is paramount. That's huge.
Mm-hmm. And we have no time frame either, right? I mean, we're not going to be arriving, or the team isn't going to be arriving going, okay, well, so we've got 20 minutes and then we need to get going, so hurry up and tell it. No. We're there and we're going, okay, do you want to go for a walk to the coffee shop? Would that be more comfortable, and we can just sit down and have a conversation, right? We can take the time that's needed with the individual so that they can identify and explore what their needs are, whether that be, you know, a bottle of water on a hot day, right? Yeah. Or finding some shade, or a ride to the hospital, or whatever it may be. We can explore it all, and yeah, just make sure that people receive the services that they need, or at least the connections to get the services that they need.
Are you going to have a feedback loop for people to say, maybe be able to provide, what would it be, like feedback on what their experience was, or if they felt they experienced something that wasn't maybe trauma-informed or culturally safe, will someone be able to give you that feedback?
So at this point, people will be able to email us and provide feedback. They can call the dispatch number and express their experience. Regarding any sort of like survey at this point, we don't have that, but we do have in place when a complaint is provided, right? We track those. Those are all tracked, and so that can just come through dispatch. If somebody does receive a call where somebody was not trauma informed, and they go, you know, like, I called the other day and this is what took place, all of that is documented, and that goes into our documentation, our complaints and policy programs.
Nice.
Yeah.
It helps education process.
Definitely. We want to make sure that we actually have the statistics that are showing that we either are doing a very good job, and I'm going to say very good because that's my hopes and dreams, or a less very good job. And we want to keep those stats. We want to track those things, because not only do we want to do those for the sake of us and our team and our community, but also because, you know, we do have people relying on us. We have the community relying on us. And even though, you know, the province is also wanting to see good results, we also care more about the community. We want to make sure that, you know, if we need to change things, then we'll change things. If we need more training, then we'll get more training. If we need to, you know, we've begun to make connections with, you know, certainly one elder in the community, because where we're placed is actually right near the BC First Nations Justice Council, and we've had a great relationship with them so far, and so if we need things, we're going to make sure that we access them to make sure that we're doing what we do well, and we're doing it in a good way, in this beautiful place.
So you may be able to have an elder be present on a call.
We have, we definitely are in the process of making those connections, so that if an individual is wanting cultural supports, we can get them connected.
Wonderful.
Or if we need, we can transport them to them.
Yeah, that's great. Because the last question I had really was around that. So for some people, and historically speaking, due to trauma, they may not trust authority in certain authorities. And so creating and establishing you as your own kind of response team that's separate from may allow for more success in people actually reaching out, right? And so strategies around understanding why that distrust might be there in the first place. And of course, you may still need to phone, right? Like police or even MCFD, and that can be, why someone might not ask for help is the fear of those authorities.
Definitely.
And so really it's a balancing of trust, hey?
Yep. Well, and even in those situations, we wouldn't be doing things, sleight of hand wise, right? We wouldn't be doing them behind their back or anything like that. So, this is a situation where we are going to need to escalate it to another service provider, whether that's MCFD, whether that be RCMP, right? And want to make sure that those places of trust are really built in, so that people know that they can trust us, that when we come, we're going to be present with them. And I get, I am very aware, right, of who I am and the way I look, right? I am a white male, European ancestry, and when I used to work for the provincial government, I was a government authority, right? And we worked with many First Nations communities. And the way that we did it is we came in with our hands out, not for looking to receive something, but saying like, how can we help, right? I'm not coming in with prescribed information or what we can do, or, you're in crisis, well, bam, 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 this is it. No. If you need me to go and sit with the aunties, totally. If you need me to be on the boat, supporting the people who are doing search and rescue, great. If you need me to just sit around the fire, and if anybody comes up to me and talks to me, great. If you need me to just shut up and say nothing, lovely. And if you want any other things that I have, I'll tell you about them, right? But I'm not going to come in and say, yeah, guess what? I'm a settler, and I'm going to continue to just provide you all my colonial perspectives, right? I want to make sure that you know that I'm here, I have experience, but you are filled with experiences, and you are the best person for yourself. Like, you know yourself more than anybody else. So what do you need?
Right, modeling that agency. It all comes back to that agency, human dignity. Wonderful, exemplary aspect of humility, and that cultural humility. So that's great. Yeah. It's a great way to kind of end the segment as well. And I hope all the best for you and in what you're helping to support and grow within Kelowna and beyond. Yeah. And I look forward to checking in. Maybe we can do a check-in next year and see.
That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'd love that.
And see how things are.
For sure. Come back and maybe bring some other people or whatever. It would just be absolutely lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And see some of the themes that you're seeing and how, and are you witnessing, some of the more community pillars in place are creating that positive change. Thanks again.
Yeah, you betcha. Thank you.
Thanks.